Maybe you saw my magic trick recently, where a provisional crochet chain became a lifeline. Well, I'm about to show you how the magic happens. Hello Fiber fam, welcome back to my channel. My name is Carrie, and this is where I talk about making pretty things with pretty string, normally with 2 sticks. Most recently, I have been making this pretty thing. This is the Marcy Beret by Carrie Ozcan Bullock design, and it has a folded brim. To do a folded brim, you need to start with a provisional cast on, and there's something very scary about provisional cast ons. If you're doing something like a crochet chain provisional cast on, you unravel the crochet chain and that releases the stitches along the cast on edge. But as you undo each chain, you gotta make sure you get your needle in there so your stitch doesn't drop. Because if the stitch drops, well, it's a pain in the tuchus to fix it. But there is a provisional cast on that actually, when you unravel that crochet chain, leaves behind a lifeline, keeping your stitches secure and much easier to pick up with a needle. So hit subscribe, hit the notification bell, give this video a thumbs up, and learn how to do the Lifeline Provisional Cast On. All right, before we get into the tutorial, which we are going to get to very quickly, I promise, couple bits of business. One, if you want to skip past the business, I do have timestamps down below so you can get to the parts of the video that are most important to you. I do always encourage you to watch through the whole tutorial at least one time, because you never know what neat tip or trick or funny moment might happen. But if you do need to get to something, I do timestamp. Also down in the description box, you will find links to the patterns that are surrounding me right now. You'll find links to different materials and resources I think are helpful from today's video. Some of these links will be clearly a marked affiliate links, so if you click on one of them to do some shopping, I might earn a small commission, and this really does help support my channel. It all gets reinvested back into the channel. It helps me buy materials for review, materials for demonstration, upgrade various equipment, all the things that help me keep a viable, thriving, I hope thriving YouTube channel, and we can keep growing this space together. So if you utilize one of these extra levels of support, an affiliate link, or a tip through Buy Me a Coffee or a YouTube Super Thanks, thank you so much. It is so greatly appreciated. I'm going to tell you up front right away that the Lifeline Provisional Cast On really is a variation of the Crochet Provisional Cast On, okay? So just like with the Crochet Provisional Cast On, you are going to need some scrap yarn, which my scrap yarn has some hair in it, because it's scrap yarn, it's scraps that you just have around. Your scrap yarn, it needs to be of a contrasting color. It needs to be at least the same weight as your project yarn, or a little bit heavier. You don't want to be lighter, but you can be a little bit heavier. And it should be a slippery material, like cotton and acrylic is ideal. The other thing obviously you're gonna need is a crochet hook. You just need a crochet hook that's an appropriate enough size for your waist yarn. In fact, I think a lot of times this works more easily if you use a crochet hook that's a little bit bigger than your knitting needle. There's basically 2 methods to do a crochet provisional cast on. There is the slip stitch crochet chain method. That's the one I'm going to utilize today. But there's also the crochet chain provisional cast on that involves using both a crochet hook and a knitting needle. Either method will work for a Lifeline provisional crochet chain. I'm just choosing to do the slip stitch method today because it's a little less fiddly, and I think it's a little more approachable for someone who might just beginning to learn how to do provisional cast-ons. However, that being said, I would love to know down in the comments, what is your preferred method for doing a crochet provisional cast on? Do you prefer the slip stitch crochet chain, or do you like using the crochet needle crochet chain method? To start with our crochet chain, I'm going to make a slip knot and put that on the crochet hook. And now I'm going to do a slip stitch chain. I'm going to start off by just doing 3 to 5 slip stitch chains that I'm not going to be counting towards my casted on stitches. This just kind of gives us a little bit of chain to start and something to hold on to when we're working. If you don't know how to make a crochet slip stitch chain, check out my video on crochet skills every knitter needs to know, which I will link up here and down in the show notes. So with my slip stitch chain started, I'm now going to cast on half the number of stitches that I need for the project, plus 1, okay? So I'm going to need 40 stitches for my sample, so I'm going to slip stitch chain 21 chains. So 1, 2, 'Okay, I've completed the 21 additional slip stitch chains. I'm now going to make like 5 or 10 more. The reason I do these extra like 5 to 10 chains is, one, it gives you a little bit of wiggle room in case you've miscounted something, but again, it also kind of gives you something to hold on to when you're working this provisional cast on method. Okay, so with that done, I need to secure this last loop that's on my crochet hook. Putting the last loop on a locking stitch marker will make it easier when it's time to unravel this chain. So there we go. The slip stitch chain is made. We are now ready to start working into this. So here we have our crochet chain, and if you look at one side of it, you've got these V's, right? They almost look like knit stitches. But if I turn it over, I've got these bumps. Those bumps are what we need to work into with our project yarn. And it's very important that we only work into the bumps. If you work into the legs of these V's, turning your crochet chain into a lifeline will not work. So to make the process a little bit easier and to make sure that when we join in our project yarn, we're only working into the bumps, I'm going to pick up the bumps on this crochet chain with my knitting needle first. Now you may notice there is a knitting needle sitting on my desk that I am not using, and that is in fact the project needle. The needle that I'm using to pick up into these bumps is just a smaller knitting needle that I have on hand. It's easier to pick up into these chains like this using a smaller needle, because if you use a larger needle, every time you pick up one bump, the next hump down the chain gets a little bit tighter. So I've got all my humps. Every time I say hump, I just think of Fergie, like my humps, my little crochet bumps. So I've got my crochet chain up on my needle here, but this is not my project needle. This is, no worries. I'll use my project needle to knit the chain off of the temp needle I have here. But one thing you want to take note of real quick, you'll notice the way that I picked up my stitches, right? The right leg of each hump is behind my needle. It's not in front of my needle. So when I'm going to basically work through the back leg to keep this untwisted. Again, that's really important for this Lifeline Provisional Cast On and for the crochet chain to unravel, is to make sure that when you work into these crochet chain bumps that you don't twist them, all right? So I'm gonna knit my first stitch, okay? So I worked the first stitch, now I'm doing a yarn over, followed by a knit stitch into the next crochet chain. That's the process. It's knit one, yarn over. And you're going to repeat this knit one, yarn over until you casted on all of your stitches and ending with a knit 1. Now to end on the knit 1, you might end up with 1 extra stitch than what you need for your pattern. That's fine. On your first row or round, you can decrease that extra stitch away. So let's see. Oops. I forgot a yarn over. That's okay. I'm just gonna undo this. Yarn over. It's really important. Those yarn overs is what's going to turn this crochet chain into a lifeline. So it's very important that you do not forget to do the yarn over. So there we go. I have now finished my crochet cast on. At this point, I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna just knit a few rows and then we will watch the magic of the unraveling. So I've knitted a few rows here. If I was working an actual project, I would not unravel this crochet chain until I was at a point where I was ready to pick up my provisional stitches. But for the point of brevity, we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna unravel this right now. Okay, so here is the end of my crochet chain. I'm gonna take this off and we're gonna hopefully watch the magic happen. All right, we're gonna go. Watch, there it goes. Just unravel and it's, look, it's catching all of those stitches. Now, I get to a point when I'm pulling and it's kind of hard to pull from the end, so I just go ahead and I actually start pulling from the like that, from the left side where the chains are coming out. It's a little bit easier to do the unraveling this way. But it's just so great. It's so great being able to unravel these stitches and not have to worry about picking up these provisional stitches as I go, because like the lifeline is catching all of them. And it's all done by just having a yarn over in between each stitch that you work into the hump of the crochet chain. And there we go, we're at the end and we are unraveled. It's all unraveled and all of my stitches are safely secured on this lifeline so that I can then, if I want to, bring in another needle, pick up those stitches, and then do whatever knitting I need for the project. I absolutely love this Lifeline Provisional Cast On. It's such a simple variation of a crochet provisional cast on, and why would I not just use this every time I choose to use a crochet provisional cast on? The fact is, it secures my provisional stitches when I'm ready to pick it up, makes it so easy to pick up those stitches of the project and not have to worry about anything dropping down. Like, it's not fiddly. I can use it with any preferred method of a crochet provisional cast on. Like, it's just wonderful. I think the only time I wouldn't use this method is when I choose to use Judy's Magic Cast On or Turkish Twist or a scrap yarn provisional cast on. Like anything, a crochet provisional cast on is one tool in your toolbox if you choose to use it, and not every situation is necessarily going to call for it. But when it is called for, this is a great variation. So I learned how to do this cast on in the book, Cast On, Bind Off, 211 Ways to Start and End Your Project by Cap Cease. This book through my years has been absolutely invaluable. I have the Kindle version of it. It lives on my phone. I absolutely love it and highly recommend it to any knitters. Unfortunately, the Kindle version is no longer available, and from what I can tell, it is currently out of print. But you can still find used copies of this book out on used bookstores. If you can track down a copy of this book for yourself, I think it's just an invaluable reference book for any knitter. I hope that you enjoyed today's video and got some great information out of it. If so, please make sure to give it a thumbs up and share it with your other yarn wrangling friends. Liking, sharing, commenting on videos all really helps grow this channel because YouTube reacts to engagement. It sees that you're engaged and you're like, hey, that must be a good video. People are engaging with it. I'm gonna recommend this to other people who may not have discovered this space yet. So thank you so much for all of your engagement. And if you wanna take your support a little bit further, you can always use one of my affiliate links when you're shopping for your knitting life, or leave me a tip through a YouTube Super Thanks or buy me a coffee. And if you can't do that or don't want to, I totally understand. As always, the best, freest way to support my channel is to hit subscribe and the notification bell. Thank you again for joining me. I hope that you have a wonderful day, evening, weekend, weeknight, whenever you may be watching this. And as always, happy health and happy making. Bye.